just saw there Ryan Papenhuyzen. You talk about doing your homework on certain players. How do you suss out a player like that?
Yeah, he's a quality player. I think wherever he is on the field, they're pretty much going to go. And yeah, he's the ultimate support player. Anywhere there's a line break, they pretty much turn into points. So yeah, he was outstanding on the weekend.
Cameron, there's going to be a lot of chat now between now and next Monday.
Yeah.
And Laurie Daly names his side. Can he fit Ryan Papenhuyzen in there? And he's putting his name up in lights every week.
Well, the discussion's started already this morning, hasn't it? They've spoken about, well, Laurie's mentioned that there has been discussions around Ryan Papenhuyzen possibly being on the bench as a number 14, Mr. Fix-It, a utility player on the bench. Look, there's no doubt he's got the quality about him to do that. And if it's a tight game and you know, the Blues need some points or need a bit of X factor, there's no doubt that he's the type of player that can cause Queensland some issues. Hasn't played Origin before, so maybe that comes into account. You know, traditionally, you know, the first game of the series, Gal, is usually quite a tight affair. So whether you throw in a debutant...
How would he go defensively? You got him at 14 and he had to go on and play hooker.
No, you couldn't play him in the middle.
the hooker and he needs a rest. Could you play him there at all?
I don't think you could defend him in the middle.
So you'd have to... What would you put him on as a 14? Put him on as a lock, just rove around the field.
You throw him in the middle, an extra fullback, I guess, in attack, but in defence you'd have to defend him out wide. There's no doubt about that. So there would be some reshuffling, which is why I don't think they'll go Papenhuyzen for game one. I don't think they will.
The 18th man's so important these days. The 18th man gets used a hell of a lot. I'd pick him as 18th man personally, but obviously Laurie will come up with whatever decision that he makes. But he's in some good form at the moment.
Yeah, I think a player like him, you either pick him as a number one or you don't pick him at all. I don't see what advantage there is putting him on the bench because really he only covers one spot.
Yeah.
He covers fullback.
And he may not get used.
And he may not get used. So I think, and his form's good enough to play number one. I mean, but I think if you're going to pick him, you've got to put him in the number one jersey if you decide that's what you're going to do. But if you don't put him in number one, he just misses out, unfortunately.
And he's, third in the pecking order there when you've got guys like Teddy and the incumbent Dylan. It's a pretty decent situation for the coach to be in at the moment. Speaking of coaches, Cameron, so the Melbourne Storm.
Yes.
It was all one way against the West Tigers, as we saw there. And bellyache. I'm not sure. Look at Harry.
Smile.
Come on.
Smile,
give us
coach.
something. Anything, coach.
Well, these are typically these are the games, Brace. So you know, I remember back in my playing days, whenever we had a big score against an opposition, particularly early, that's when bellyache would be most tense in the coach's box. Just in case, you know, we got a little bit comfortable on the field.
Well, they have a few times this year.
Well, they have. Yeah. They have. They most definitely. They did it only a couple of weeks ago against, was it the Dolphins?
They've done it 2 or 3 occasions. Round one this year.
Canberra last week.
They by 40 points against Para. I think round one, Para won the second half. So they've done it a number of times. So for them to go on and win the way they did, I'd say, he'd be pretty satisfied with that, wouldn't he?
Oh, I think so. I think that was a great reaction or bounce back from the result against the Raiders. You know, I think he would have been extremely disappointed with their efforts there. And you could see with the way they opened up the match in the first 40 minutes, they were a million miles an hour and so clinical and executed everything really well.
A little later on, the fallout from that social media post from Jerome Luai's dad as well, more Origin, of course. We're from Laurie Daly, got a bit to chat about with this man as well. Stephen Crichton, though, Gus has already set the scene for what unfolded in Canberra. Huge crowd, record comeback as well. But that guy... Geez, he loves a moment, doesn't he? And that moment came in the second half in the nation's capital.
He's a quality player, isn't he? Like I've had the privilege to play with him in the Origin arena, and he's been outside of me, and just how much leadership he has, and how comfortable you feel when you're defending next to him. He's a quality player, and even what he does with the ball, you know what I mean? You can give him ball like that early, and he does his thing, and yeah, he's a quality player.
Become quite a leader, hasn't he?
Well, that's what I was going to ask Gus about. All reports when people talk about Stephen Crichton, his talent's unquestionable, but you keep hearing stories about him at training. He leads training, how much of a leader is at training, how much he talks at training, contributes to the young boys. How much influence does he have there?
Oh, incredible. The impact he's had on the Bulldogs, you know, can't be measured, nor can it be described in words. He's been, for one so young, to come in and command the sort of respect and to accept that respect and accept that leadership. I mean, he's a very young captain. And you've got to understand, young players like him who come on the scene the way they did, he's playing with the Premiers, Penrith, and they're going to grand finals, and he's going off and playing rep football, and then he's got to have a break at the end of the season. He doesn't come back until mid-January, and he only gets a short sort of preparation each year, and that accumulates over a few years. So he's never really had a full off-season to train, you know, so he's always a little bit underdone when we get to the start of the year. He's only just finding his feet now, and his last couple of weeks, like Magic Round, he was outstanding up there against the Titans, and I thought he was, well, you saw what he did on the weekend, but as a person, as a leader, as a professional athlete, I don't think you would get a better example of what it should look like than Stephen Crichton. He's a really special human being. He's a special footballer, but he's a very special human being.
Did you think the game was gone for the dog, Gus?
No, games these days are never gone. They're never gone. You know, and it was a good lesson because when they started badly up in Brisbane, they conceded 34 points. And the sort of lesson was, you know, if you could have saved 2, right, if you could just save 1 or 2 tries when things are going bad, that can come back to you at the back end of the game. And I thought they did really well. You know, they were poor, but they did really well to keep it to 20 in the first half with the possession that was against them. And that gave them a chance if they could be first to score in the second half. And once they got into their own rhythm, it was virtually one-way traffic in the second half. And we get a lot of games like this. Canberra have been in a few of themselves this year, and you know, once one team gets the momentum and gets plenty of possession, and they've got the ability to score, well, you know, Crichton was outstanding, brilliant, just brilliant.
The Jamin Semin incident too after the try, finding the camera, making sure he mouthed weak, gutted dog. It's going to become a bit of a rivalry, this one, Gal. It's going to add some spice for later in the year when they meet again.
I'll tell you what interests me is that Ricky Stewart said it and gets fined $25,000, and he sort of, we're laughing about it. It's a bit of a, it does interest me, and obviously later in the year when they play again, yeah, it'll obviously be spoken about. I don't think Ricky will care too much about it or even bring it up again, but without doubt, there's definite rivalry there. And there's history between the two with their families and whatnot, so it's not a great situation, but hopefully it just ends there.
I think he had a bit of a chuckle about it after the game, Ricky.
I hope everyone's laughing about it.
He half laughed it off, I think.
Yep.
But Salmon's out for
how long?
extended period of
Yeah,
time.
he's fractured his ankle. He's out for 10 weeks, so he had surgery.
Really?
Surgery at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Yeah.
All right, no fractured ankle.
A loss
Yeah, it is. Well, it's an added to the big
on
list.
a list
you've
of
already
many
got.
losses at the moment.
It's a lot of key forwards on the sideline. No fractured ankle, though, although the way he kicked it, you wouldn't blame him. Latrell Mitchell on Friday night. Our cash converters conversion of the week. Yeah, there's no kicking to here, but hey, how can we go past that 49-metre effort in soggy conditions?
Well, Gus, you were
Where's
there,
that
Gus,
compare?
weren't you?
I commentated, that's my voice over the top of it, because as soon as he hit it, you could see the trajectory of the ball, and he turned his back. I often watch the kicker after he's kicked it. I saw the trajectory, I said, that's long enough, and I looked at him, and he was walking backwards nonchalantly, like he just picked up, just picked up the mail at the letterbox and was heading back inside. Yeah, and you could just tell it was going to go over.
Yeah.
Mitch, talk us through the mechanics of a field goal like that in that sort of pressure situation too.
Well, I definitely don't have that distance in me yet, but the way he strikes the ball, like for a left footer, it's just so smooth, and he does that stuff at training. Like played rep footy with Trell, and he does that stuff at training all the time, so it doesn't surprise me.
He kicked one in Melbourne one night, from 40-odd metres out in Golden Point, and it was still rising when it got to the uprights.
It was only about 10 in
It nearly ended up in the
It was
MCG. It was the biggest kick I've ever seen. And when he's goal kicking, he hits the ball as sweet as any goal kicker I've seen. Like when he really hits them sweet, don't they?
Yep.
They don't move, they don't deviate. It's just perfect arc.
It's just what he does.
I love
Just
the
in big
walk-off.
moments, he wants the ball in big moments, and he can produce things others players can't produce. When you think about his previous 78 minutes, he came at the great try, save and tackle, but the first half in particular, he wasn't really there. He was actually a bit lazy at times, but then all of a sudden, when the game's on the line, you give him the ball, and he can just produce. He can just do things other people in the game can't do. He's a special talent.
I watched him all night. Honestly, in 80 minutes of that performance, he spent 70 minutes conserving energy. He's just conserving energy. He decides where and when he gets involved. Like the cover tackle there, he was actually out of position. Went, oh no, I've got to save this one now, and went across and bundled him in, and no one else would have caught him. Like Mariner's really quick.
Yeah.
You know, did an in and away on him. He'd have beaten most blokes. Latrell found a way to get him, but honestly, he spends the majority of his time conserving energy, waiting for the big moment.
Well, come back.
Waiting for the. What about the try at the end?
Yeah, playing dead.
Like that's under 12 stuff.
Took
isn't
a
it?
knee.
You know,
He took a knee.
yeah, that's under 12 stuff.
Yep, but only Latrell
Pulled their pants down in
could do
public.
it and get away with it. And Latrell, come back, speak to us, the media. Please don't run off the pitch. We want to hear from you in moments like that. We promise we just want to talk about footy. That's all. We'd love to be interviewing you once again.